Hey, welcome back to the Armchair Generals, and we're going to continue our discussions of the various demon factions and Chaos Knights here. And take it away.
So next up, we're going to be going over Chaos Demons. For that, we will start with the Corn Demons. El Scacho, do you want to go over those?
Yeah, so demons are actually a really cool faction because they're like four different factions all kind of combined. You got four major chaos gods: Khorne, Slaanesh, Nurgle, and Tzeentch. And Khorne demons are they're dedicated to Khorne. They are he's the god of skulls and bloodshed and war. So you're going to get a lot of strong reds, strong blacks, and brass and bone light. That's his colors. The demons, they look like these crazy, lanky, almost skinless creatures. They have long tongues and horns, and they've all got these super long swords. They ride into battle on these crazy biomechanical looking steeds, that have big sharp teeth and
giant evil rhinos.
Yeah, basically horns and metal plates hammered into them and all kinds of cool. It's a really cool faction.
I can't wait for Juggernauts in Total War Warhammer.
Oh yeah, Juggernauts are nasty. That's what the rhino things are called, Juggernauts.
The overall aesthetic is very kind of leans towards the classic devils and demons idea of the red-skinned, horned.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely the European style of devils and demons, 100%.
Yes. And they are all about get in your face and mess you up. They don't. Khorne actually hates magic as a chaos god. He doesn't have any sorcerers. That's one of his most common fights.
Unless it's a magic weapon, because those are okay.
Yeah, but him and Tzeentch don't get along, and their followers clash a lot. But they are all about that charge. His demons, they'll summon them in the middle of the board and try and get that charge in and mess your opponent up. And they're pretty good at it, too.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Yeah, and then and to take the torch here, I'll pass to Nova Star to discuss one of his favorite demon factions.
All right, so we will be talking about Slaanesh, the Dark Prince of Pleasure, or She Who Thirsts, because Slaanesh and his demons or her demons can actually change. And the reason they change is they take on the allure or the guise of whatever they can to try and corrupt you. So if you were into greed, sloth, lust, they will use that and they will transform their image to best eat your soul. So in his realm, he has, I think, the 9, I think it's is it 6 or 7? It's probably 6. 6 circles, and each circle in his fortress is a different sin. And like almost no mortal can get past it. I think one got to him one time, and right before he was going to strike Slaanesh, he just fell on his knees, because Slaanesh is the perfection of whatever you think a human body should look like.
Wow.
Slaanesh is also a huge dick. He has a champion called the Mask, who is his greatest demonette. And might have to edit that. He's just a douche canoe. He's a huge douche canoe. He has a champion called the Mask, and one time Tzeentch tricked Slaanesh into fighting this battle of Khorne that he lost, and he was so salty and mad about it that his favorite handmaiden tried to cheer him up, and he thought she was insulting him. So he's like, okay, you know what? You want to dance for me like you've done quadrillions of times? I'm going to curse you to dance forever. And now she can't stop. She is continuously in motion.
Well, that's horrible.
Oh, yeah. No, he's not a nice person. He is the kind of god where, like, unlike Grandfather Nurgle, which we mentioned in our Chaos Space Marine episode, you make him mad, he'll turn you into an Ottoman.
That's not where I thought you were going to go with that, Nova.
I mean, but on the tabletop, his army is extremely fast. They have some of the highest movement ranges in the game. They are able to do an advanced move, which is move again and still charge people. They have a rule to where they always strike first, even if there were no charges that turn. So everything is super duper speed. And they have special abilities to work against other people's armies to prevent you from doing actions. Like they have something called the Beguiling Gem, and you use it on a unit, and if they want to move, shoot, charge, they have to keep taking leadership tests after leadership tests. And there's ways you can lower enemies' leadership to where eventually, like, oh, your opponent might be about to make this clutch charge rolls on you, but now they can't because they're just stupefied by this gem.
Okay.
And they also have a really nice unit that's new. It's called, I think it's the chapters. I'm not sure of the unit, but it's these two demonettes like moving around on this mirror, which looks like it's like almost a robotic snake, and that mirror is there to absorb enemy psychic powers.
Wow.
There's also a really cool model, which goes to show, is she's called the Infernal Entraptress, and she's playing a harp. Well, the harp is actually some poor schmuck who has been turned into the harp. So like the base is him, and his arms are like up in the air, and it's his sinew are the harp strings.
Ow.
So when I mean Slanesh will turn you into furniture, they will turn you into furniture.
Ugh.
All right.
Chaos is nasty.
Yeah.
Chaos is nasty and fickle. Because one day you could be there being lavished by demonettes, being rubbed down with oil and fed grapes, and the next day you're the chair.
Well, I mean, I can't. I guess Zinch isn't much better.
No.
Zinch, you just turn into some kind of nameless horror when you get disapproval.
He just turns you into a chaos spawn.
Yeah, you get experimented on and turned into random creatures and demons. And you get turned into pink horrors or chaos spawn or all kinds of nasty stuff. Zinch is the god of magic. His demons show that off. You have flamers that spout alchemical fires and flames that don't go out. You have pink horrors that when you kill them, they split into two blue horrors. And when you kill those, they split into two brimstone horrors. You have screamers, which look like stingrays that fly through space and time and tear into things. Everything's mutated and crazy looking with Zinch's demons.
But and then you had their greater demons, which are giant sketsy birds with wings.
Sketzies. Yep.
I mean, that's the aesthetic that they've seemed to gone with, just enough not to be
copyright
hassled
by the Jim Henson Corporation.
I mean, let's be fair. Games Workshop skirts a lot of those lines. They skirt a lot of those copyright lines.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, they definitely look like Sketzies. If we could get an image of one here, there, Secretary Nidbait. They gigantic, nasty birds with all kinds of crazy magic. I mean, if you want to play an army that throws a lot of spells and magic, Thousand Suns or Zinch Demons or a combination of both is the army to go with. Yeah. They have just spells galore.
I hope you like blue if you're playing them because that's their color.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, you can paint them whatever colors you want. That's true. Blue is the traditional colors, for them. But I mean,
I've seen some really good paint jobs where people will take the light spectrum and do that on the feathers of the Lords of Change, and it looks really good.
That's pretty cool. I still want to paint like the cosmos into Magnus's wings for my Magnus. I've just been looking up different ways that other people have done it and how I want to try and do it.
100% you should do that. It'll look great.
The biggest problem I'm having is the white speckling for the stars. Like I can paint the the various swirls and everything, but the speckling for the stars is the one I'm having the hardest time getting pinned down.
Toothbrush with white paint. Look at the model.
I've seen a number of different solutions. One was actually just white paint on a toothbrush, and you just kind of dab the.
What about that star pattern from the 3rd edition Eldar Codex and the Wraith Lord that the guy did? He has the banners on it, and it looks like he has twinkling stars.
I don't know this model. I'm sure I do.
We'll
Do
have to
you
look
still
that
have
up.
that codex?
Somewhere?
I'll send you a picture. 'Cause
Okay.
It might help you and give you inspiration for your Magnus Weeks.
Okay. I appreciate that there, Nova. And then finally we have more Nurgle.
Hooray!
They're just gross. They're so gross. Whether it's the Marines or the Demons, they're just nasty. Oh, they're just sloppy and drippy and covered in gross. Even the new model they showed off in the preview the other day. The model, I mean, from a technical aspect, it's fantastic, but he's got like goo dripping from his power fist.
Actually, it'd be kind of a cool army is if you had somebody do like Plague Marines and Poxwalkers and all that stuff in like surgical gowns, like scrubs, dripping goo everywhere.
I think some of the Poxwalkers actually have surgical coats.
Oh, that'd be
because
great.
they're supposed to look like just Imperial citizens who up and became zombies.
Okay, that's great.
But I mean, for Nurgle, you do have a lot of really, really solid units. They're great unclean ones. From a technical aspect, again, the models are amazing, and the rules for them are really good.
I want one scene to be painted like Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas.
That actually wouldn't be too hard. I could probably do that if you ever wanted it.
I just think it would look really cool.
It probably would. It probably would look really cool.
I mean, Oogie Boogie would be a Nurgle demon.
And then you could paint all of his little Nurglings like the three little troublemaker kids.
Oh,
yeah. But I mean, rules wise, it's a good faction. It's a cool faction, and it really both sets of Nurgle armies, Death Guard and Nurgle demons, actually very much fit my personal play style. Models,
and I mean, they're super tough and durable, and their magic abilities are all about hampering the enemy, either negatively your shooting, lowering the enemy's toughness, lowering their strength. It's a very big debuffing army.
Yeah, and they're very good at especially the Marine aspect of Nurgle, very heavily reliant on shooting things down, and Crash loves to play a gun line.
I do love to play a gun line, but honestly, Plague Marines are good at melee too. They're actually very solid. One of the main tactics for 8th edition was Alpha Legion with a squad of Plague Marines loaded out, and you infiltrate them to right in front of your opponent.
Yeah, if you tool them up with a couple flails and plague swords, they're really nasty in combat.
They are.
Pun intended.
They're just very, very tough. And Chaos Space Marines, with them all getting 2 wounds now, that's going to seriously make Death Guard a challenge to fight on the tabletop.
They're definitely going to be a much more bully army now, because they'll be able to hold the objective and beat people away trying to take it from them.
Shove people off the objective and then hold it. You might actually still see like big 20-man blobs of Plague Marines. I mean, you stick a 20-man blob of Plague Marines, or even just Plague Bearers. I mean, Plague Bearers don't have that toughness level, but you just take a big blob of Nurgle stuff, put it on an objective, that's hard to clear.
Yep.
You have to put a lot into that.
I
know a lot of top-level players right now are dusting off their Death Guard armies, or just building new ones, because they're gonna be up there in the meta.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, with the gross and last of the demons out of the way, we're going to move on to Chaos Knights, and we're going to go back to our knight expert over there, Nova Star.
So the Chaos Knights are everything that the Imperial Knights are, except spiky. Kind of just like the Space Marine counterparts. For the longest time, they didn't have their own kit. You were told just to paint and convert the Imperial one. Then they finally came out with the new kit that is amazing. That has the backwards jointed legs, the aforementioned spikes just in the right places. Even just the weapons, instead of just a normal fist, it has talons. Oh, they're just so cool looking.
They are.
And one thing that they kept, which a lot of people were thinking they were going to drop, is unlike the Imperial versions, who are kind of set, like this knight has X gun and Y gun. That's it. Most of the Chaos Knights, you can take X gun and X gun, Y gun and Y gun. Like, you can double up on your weapons. So that's a big advantage that the Imperium ones cannot take.
The Chaos Knight list I wrote has a Chaos Knight that just sits in the back with 2 rapid fire battle cannons just blasting away at stuff. Figured he could take backfield sort of objective and then just hammer things from back there.
Yeah, that's a good tactic, because you can give him war gear to ignore penalties to his shooting modifiers, which is really nice.
He's actually the character for the group, and he has the war gear for no negatives. So,
and the story behind them are so cool, because the knights are like these champions of the Imperium, like the epitome of basically a knight in shining armor in the 40th millennium, just in a giant towering robot mecha. And then these pilots have been corrupted by chaos, so they take all this zealotry and devotion from the Emperor or their people, now unleashed onto themselves. So instead of selfishness, it's selfishness, which is now the driving factor. And you have these fallen champions who are going around, and they're just brutalizing the Imperium. Sometimes they work with Chaos Space Marines, sometimes they're working alone. And some of the stories that they've written have been really cool and really tragic. Like, there was this one house that the Imperium is attacking, and the house is like, why are you guys attacking? They have no idea. They're calling Mayday. Like, what's the Imperium doing? All of a sudden, a warp portal opens behind them, and they're like, well, the Imperium's killing us. We might as well go through this and see what happens. So they go through the warp portal, and through years upon years of being in this like little warp reality, they become chaosified and Chaos Knights. And when they come out, they still have the same heraldry, and they're attacking an Imperial fortress. And because the time in the warp is so distorted and diluted, it was only like a month earlier. So the Imperium just sees this night house that they think is good. Like, hey, those are our boys, but they're attacking us. I guess they're evil now. Let's go attack them. And it's this weird, like, circular theory that they're only attacked because they attacked the Imperium, and they only attacked the Imperium because they were attacked.
Sounds similar to the Thousand Suns story.
Oh boy, is chaos tricky.
Yep.
Oh,
That happens.
I mean, even the way the Death Guard were corrupted, the way the Thousand Suns were corrupted, chaos is sneaky. Insidious, yeah, that's the word. It is.
Well, and that's the thing about chaos is, I mean, even for the Imperial, you can, warp travel is really the fastest way around the galaxy. You can leave through a warp portal near-ish to Earth to try and get to Fenris, let's say, which is, homeworld of the Space Wolves. And it could take you a week. It could take you 100 years. It could take you -5 years. I mean, it's all kinds of craziness, and that happens quite a bit to chaos folks, too.
We've all been playing for a really long time, and I'm so happy that with 8th edition that GW decided to move the story forward, expanding the Eye of Terror with the Cicatrix Maledictum, because now Chaos, they always felt kind of penned in, and for the longest time very weak. And Chaos is supposed to be the poster faction against the Imperium. Like, the Imperium's your good guys. It's what the core of the story is kind of built around. And their greatest adversary is always supposed to be Chaos. And for the longest time, Chaos was very weak. And when your biggest, baddest villain is kind of a joke, I think it was detrimental to the game. And now that they've amped them up and really made them strong, really made them feel on the tabletop how they are in the lore, I think it's been a tremendous help to the game. Like, it's just injected new life into it. People are like, oh, that's Abaddon. He's actually super awesome and cool. Where before, like, he was a joke. People just made fun of him, called him armless.
Yeah, we called him Fail Baden because he, 13 great Black Crusades, and he didn't do anything. Well, the fix to the lore actually explained what he was actually doing with those crusades.
And now with what I said earlier with the Sidrix, they basically have a super highway across the Imperium, so you can, like before, you could always say, well, my guys are going to be here, but now it just gives more of a narrative aspect that it's easier to write that story of why your warband or your Black Crusade is attacking this location, and it's much more, for the people who love to write stories and backgrounds for the army, it's just much more easier with that narrative hook to make it possible.
Well, like, for instance, in the previous lore, previous to 8th edition, Tau and Chaos really had almost no reason to fight each other. They were complete opposite sides of the galaxy.
Yeah.
And now with the Cicatrix Maledictum opened up
the winds, the 4th expansion fleet.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's all kinds of reasons for Chaos and Tau to fight, for instance.
Yeah. So I'm very happy and grateful with this influx of the stories for Chaos, the model ranges for Chaos, the power level of Chaos, because with the game's main villain actually being a worthwhile opponent and a villain again, 100% it's better for the game.
It is.
It's better for the lore, it's better for the game. It makes things more focused.
Well, because, even the books and the lore talks about how, if you wanted to escape the Eye of Terror, you had to slip the Cadian Gate. Warbands and fleets would get battered by, trying to get out of the Eye of Terror at Cadia. And so then they would get loose in the Imperium and they'd be just a little warband because they lost most of their strength getting past Cadia. And so now, they're a legitimate threat to the galaxy as a whole.
Yeah, well, Cadia isn't there anymore, but
its remnants are.
It got exploded.
It did get exploded.
Spoiler warning.
Yeah. Not really a spoiler at this point. That's, 4 years ago now. So
no. There's a moment in a Custodes novel where one of the High Lords of Terror is like, we have no idea what's happening with Cadia. We don't know what's going on. And someone goes, we just got word. Cadia's not there anymore. And they're like, what? Like, the Imperium didn't even know it was exploded.
In the book you referenced earlier, Shroud of Night, the Alpha Legionnaires have been on this other planet for like 2 centuries, trapped there. And when they get out, they're like, Cadia's gone? What? Nah. And moving the story forward has helped a lot, especially with enhancing Chaos as a threat.
Yep.
All right. Well, we covered the Chaos factions. Any final thoughts, Nova or El Scotcho?
This is probably a close second as far as one of the most common factions you're going to see on tabletop. Almost everybody I've ever met that plays that doesn't have just a really deep opposition, morally to what they represent, owns a Chaos army. I know I have, and I don't play them currently. I've still got Chaos minis floating around that in my collection. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of these guys around there, and you're going to see all kinds of different levels of cool.
Chaos armies are just cool in general.
I like it from a collecting and painting aspect because I want to paint mine warband style. Each squad I intend to have different colors and stuff like that, different heraldry, and even within some squads I'm going to mix it up a little bit as I collect and paint my Chaos army over time.
Shoot, I'm putting Chaos Space Marines in my Death Watch army.
That's a whole nother story there. Thank you for joining us today on the Armchair Generals for the second half of our discussion on the various Chaos factions. If you like this video, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and you'll never miss an upload from us.
And remember, let the galaxy burn.